We're in the area of Styvechale Common. Styvechale Common is an area that used to belong to the Lord Lee and the Gregory Hood family. They were landowners in this area and going back into the 1600s. We have, very local to us, a hamlet. It's been preserved as a hamlet since the council took it over, when the Gregory Hood family decided to sell off the land and enable the council to develop the memorial park, which is behind us. And one of the conditions was, on selling the land, that the hamlet of Styvechale should not be changed whatsoever, and that the cottages and the meadows should not have any buildings associated other than the 1600s and 1700s style of accommodation. To that fact, there has been no building whatsoever of a new build. We've got the Pinner Cottage just behind us. That goes back to the 1700s. We've got the Bridge Cottage, which is along by the coat of arms bridge itself, which is the railway bridge. That again goes back to 1700s. We've got the Blacksmith's Cottage, which consisted of two cottages, which was only single story, but they permitted in the 1800s to develop it into two floors, two stories. And certainly in the 1900s they had a slight extension on the back, which enabled them to bring it up to current standards. We have two meadows on the site, which used to contain a sheep wash. Besides the hamlet, we've also got a number of other historical facilities. Styvechale Hall, which was built in 1700, 1800s, unfortunately was demolished in 1946 when the Gregory Hood family decided to move over to Loxley. Another residence is Finham College, which was formerly known as Styvechale Manor. That again was a residence of the Gregory Hood family until they moved to Styvechale Hall. Styvechale Manor eventually became a school and is known as Finham College. At the moment, Finham College has been reverted back to Styvechale Manor and is now apartments. On the Grange, Styvechale Grange, where we live, there is an old Grade 2 building, which is the original farm going back into the 1500s, which was used as a farm up until the 1960s, when Styvechale Grange was then developed and the farm itself was turned into apartments. I've managed to find some old photographs, black and white photographs of the 1950s that shows the domed ice houses. I've now actually located the house that has got the remains of the ice house. It's now in Knoll Drive and it's been turned into a feature in the garden.
In the early days of lockdown, Evie Barriscale decided to fundraise for the Children's Air Ambulance. She decided to create colourful heart-shaped magnets and keyrings, each one containing a motivational word, and to sell them for small donations. Lots of people bought her creations to send to loved ones who they could not be with. She completed over 80 hearts, working on them every day in between homeschooling and delivering them on daily walks with her mum. Through her determination and kindness, she has really shown what can be achieved when times are hard, raising over £340 for the Children's Air Ambulance. Evie was successfully nominated to be one of the 21 Our Cov Heroes for the City of Culture.
My name is Ellie Tandy Starnes. I'm a singer-songwriter from Coventry, Green Lane to be specific. It's where me and my family grew up, and it's a place that's got a massive space in my heart. I'll always call that my home and the area. I've got a lot of love for the area. So from the age of like 5, I used to make up my own little songs when I was getting ready to go to school and whatever, in the bath and the shower, just be singing all the time. Then I started doing like little competitions as I was getting older, and talent shows and like school talent shows, competitions and things. A couple of them were for money and a couple of them I won, which is super exciting. I've also been playing piano since I was about 8. My mum is like a grade 8, so she's kind of taught me, and I've kind of self-taught a little bit along the way. During lockdown is actually when I kind of picked up songwriting. I actually kind of took the plunge and went into it. I've always been a little bit nervous before because I wasn't really sure if my lyrics would be any good, or it might sound a bit cheesy, but throughout lockdown that's when I really started to feel more confident in what I was doing, and that's where What a Freak came from. I'm super proud of that one. It's yeah, close to my heart. It's quite an emotional song. My words and my lyrics and things are usually very true to me, and I'm just, wow, I come up with a kind of tune and it all kind of comes together. And yeah, my childhood and upbringing and having my mum as a great inspiration to me inspires my songs as well. And I love the female figures in my family, like my grandma and things. They're all very inspiring to me. I'm not really looking to become famous or anything like that. I literally just like to songwrite and do things in my room, play my piano, come up with some lyrics and create my own music for myself and just show my friends, really. If it got any further, like onto the radio, or I mean, I've had What a Freak played on the radio a couple of times, so if that ever got big, then that's like a bonus. But no, I'm just super comfortable with just creating and enjoying that process.
What a freak. No, I said no. Let me be. Let me sleep. Go. I said go. I'm not weak. You just always took good advantage of me. What a freak. What a freak. She can't take the heat. What a freak. But I can't see what's in front of me. Must you always help me, even in my dreams, in my dreams. So what a show, curtains closed, take a bow on my own. All the lights are blinding, so much for finding me. Oh, what a freak. Oh, I said to go. I'm not weak. You just always took advantage of me.
6 years ago, I decided to look after this plot, really, because I saw the potential that it had. So myself, along with some neighbours that I rallied round, started to help me clear this plot. So it was overgrown with brambles, nettles, self-set trees and glass, bottles, cans, you name it, it was all in there. We all, you know, helped cut it all back so we could clear, you know, the whole plot really, ready for planting. I also put up bird feeders, bird boxes, nesting boxes, and insect houses as well. I decided to make some bollards just to stop people parking up on the plants and things. So I went to a local supermarket and they were selling upturned buckets where they had their flowers on display. So, I thought, right, I can make something of those. Even now when I'm on the community garden weeding and feeding the plants, people are asking, you know, wow, what am I doing? It looks amazing. We're so grateful for what you do. It shows people what can be done, just making the most of green spaces that have got potential. From what it used to look like to what it looks like today is 1000% better.
So I'm Leah and I'm grateful that the sun is shining. It's nice to have the sun shining and it always lifts me up in the mornings.
So I'm Chrissy and this is Bodhi. We are both in our pyjamas because neither of my children are sleeping at the moment. This week I am grateful for Calpol. Bodhi is getting his 8th tooth and this one has been the worst out of them all.
So I'm Sarah and this is Layla Maya. She's nearly 5 months. I'm grateful for this week muslin cloths. I think they are amazing. They've got so many uses. So yeah.
I'm Alex and this is Lucy. Say hi. We're grateful, apparently for crying, we're grateful for my husband this week because I've had a really rubbish week. And even at 3 in the morning, he wakes up to listen to my rant about how everything is the worst thing in the world.
So this is Rosie. I'm Hannah. Rosie's now 4 months old this week. She had a jabs yesterday, so she's been a bit raggy. So I think this week I'm grateful for my sister. When my partner and everyone's been at work, she just takes Rosie and I'm like, oh, thank God I can have a break. So yeah,
this is Declan. He is 5.5 months old. And this week I'm grateful for school, not for this one but for my eldest. He's really struggled with this latest lockdown. He's only 4 and at preschool, so it's really lovely to see him get a little bit of himself back and play with his friends.
I spent a few weeks moping about, quite really bad actually, and I had to use the text service Shout, and I've been getting support here and there, but I found a bit of a love for poetry, and I found that I was actually able to write poems as well. So I set up an Instagram page and a Facebook group, and I just sort of said, does anyone want any poems wrote? And I'd do it for free. And I found that it was distracting my brain from the negative thinking. I was then, rather than sitting in the bath at night or doing the dinner, thinking horrible thoughts about myself or being a mum, I was thinking what rhymes with school or what rhymes with this, and my brain was filled with poetry rather than the negative thoughts. I wrote this on a very, very good day, and I reread it if I'm having a bit of a bad day, and it just reminds me really. So, dear mummy, I wrote you a poem just so you know that you are amazing, helping me grow. I want you to know you're doing so well, even though some days you really can't tell. I know sometimes I can be a struggle, but I'll make it up to you by having a snuggle. I love you more and more each day. You are such a special mummy, I want to say. Sometimes are hard, you have things on your chest, but mummy, I promise you're doing your best. When your mind starts to feel as if it could blow, to me you are perfect, I need you to know. Hair is a mess, face is bare. To me, you are gorgeous, I can't help but stare. You make me laugh when you tickle my tummy. I'm so happy that you are my mummy. So remember, mummy, don't ever give up hope. If I was without you, how would I cope? So even when the days are tough, please remember that you are enough.
Styvechale Open Gardens are a group of suburban and town gardens not far from Coventry city centre. They have been opening for charity for many years now, initially as part of Styvechale Residents Association, and then for the last dozen or so years as part of the National Garden Scheme, NGS. The NGS and its associated groups support the caring charities such as Macmillan Nurses and Hospice UK. Part of the monies raised by Styvechale Open Gardens goes to these worthy causes. They also have their own local charity, Coventry Might and Hospice, who they have been supporting for the past few years. Styvechale Open Gardens has received both local and national recognition within the last few years. In 2017, Val and Roy's Gardens won the Daily Mail National Garden Competition. Several of the group's gardens have been featured as Garden of the Week in national magazines such as Garden News and Garden Answers, with John and Karen's garden appearing as the main feature in the Christmas 2020 edition of Garden Answers. One member's garden also features very briefly in the introductory sequence of the current series of BBC's Garden Rescue, whilst another of their newest gardens will be subject to a complete Garden Rescue episode. During the last 2 years, Styvechale Open Gardens has also been delighted to be part of Coventry's Positive Images Festival.
My name's Tim Sorden. I'm a councillor for this area, and I've represented this area, I dread to think of it, for 47 years. I came to Coventry when I was 21 because I got a job, and I've never left. I've always been involved in politics. I was at university, and so it was a natural thing to do, to get involved when I came here. And before I knew where I was at the age of 24, I'd become a city councillor, and I have remained as one ever since. When I was 27, I became chairman of the Housing Committee, which was an exciting thing to do in those days. And but I've enjoyed most of all representing the ward that the Wayne Body ward, because I love the people, and there's so much going on, there's so many issues, and I love being able to help people and sort things out. A lot of people think that politics in local government is all about party politics, but actually it's not. It's much more about helping people get things done, battling bureaucracy, and achieving things for people when they've got pretty frustrated very often that they've got nowhere. I can't honestly say I've succeeded in everything that I've done. I think my greatest achievement is steering the Finham Parish Council set up through Coventry City Council. It's the first parish council to be set up in Coventry for over 100 years. So I was very excited to lead the campaign throughout the City Council to achieve it. And I just hope we can set up more parish councils, because I do think that they provide a much better focus for the community at grassroots level.
Oh hi, I'm Councillor John Blundell. I'm Councillor for Waynebody Ward. We're here actually outside Grange Farm School, which is in Waynebody Ward. I'm the Cabinet Member for Education. I've been a councillor for the last 20 years. This is a school where I'm a governor, and I've been a governor for, I think, for around about 15 years at this school. And it's very important to me that we ensure that all children in Coventry get the benefit of a good education. We're standing outside, I have to say, one of the best performing primary schools in Coventry, which is fantastic. And in Waynebody we have lots of schools which are rated as good or outstanding. There's some very vibrant, enthusiastic residents groups covering all sorts of things which are important to people in Styvechale Grange. We've looked at turning green spaces, protecting them into village greens, because I think the one thing that people do appreciate, and we don't have a lot of it in Coventry, are the green spaces. I feel very much, when I moved into my house about 30 years ago, it was immediately a community feel around that area. And I think this is the great thing, and this is the strength of residents associations and people doing things together, which is so important. So whether it's doing a speed check for people to try to ensure that the roads are kept safe, or whether it's doing a litter pick, and I've done quite a few litter picks, that is a great community thing to do. And I think that the nice thing is that when I go out, I know all my neighbours know me. I really wouldn't want to live anywhere else in Coventry, to be honest with you. I think it's a wonderful area to live, Waynebody. It incorporates all the best of what Coventry is about.
Hi, this is Matty Heaven. I'm one of the councillors in Waynebody Ward, which includes Finham, where we're standing today. I just want to really acknowledge where we are. Is behind me, as you can see, is the library, and I want to acknowledge all the volunteers who have been and will be hopefully continuing to do their great work in the future as volunteering and keeping the place open and sustaining it. So I really want to thank them. The other areas that I want to really acknowledge while we're standing, usually this area reminds me of the festival around June time that takes place. Unfortunately, because of what's been going on with the COVID situation, we've had to stop it, but I look forward to having the festival again and meeting the community in this area when they come together and they share their crafts and great things together. It's just really, really fantastic. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is that I organise litter picking, and it's a fantastic way to engage with the community and really have be involved and get community involved into where the place they're living. So if you do want to get involved with any litter picking, just drop us a line. We're on Facebook on Waynebody Conservatives. You can reach us or contact us through the council email. So we would look forward to hearing from you.
So my name is Denise Bird, and I'm the chairperson of Finham Library Action Group. We're a charity group set up to keep the library open, and I'm a trustee of the library. I've lived in Finham for probably about 55 years, I would think. I was brought up in Finham as a child from about the age of 8, and I've lived here ever since. I got married, bought a house here, my children went to school in Finham, and I've not really moved out of the area. We took the library over about 3 years ago now because Coventry City Council were going to close it. Finham people decided they wanted to keep it open, and when we took it over they gave us a figure of money so that we could spend to do it up, and our business case was to do a small coffee bar. So this is why we've now got to that stage where we have had a disabled toilet put in for public use. and we've had a small kitchen put in, so we can now use it more as a community centre to offer like a cake and a coffee and so forth, and people can come in, have a chat, read a book, do a jigsaw or meet friends. We've got quite a lot of volunteers now, probably in the region of about 35 or 40. They go on a rota and keep the library open. We usually have 2 or 3 on duty at a time. They come in and man the systems, greet people. They will be operating the coffee bar eventually. We are looking for people who would come onto our trustees and play a very active part in it. We do need somebody that would like to do fundraising, maintaining our website, our Facebook page and stuff like that. So we really need people come in who've got talents that they can offer to us.
Chatterbox magazine I launched in 1998 predominantly for Styvechale and Finham areas, and it was just supposed to be a free magazine that people could enjoy. Some people enjoy the poetry and send in lots of poems and love seeing their poetry and writing. Other people find the health very interesting, and others just want to have a very good laugh at the jokes. And many people like doing the crosswords and the word searches and the spot the difference to keep their brains active. But overall, most people find it's a very good feel-good factor. We used to push it through some doors and leave it mainly at local libraries and churches. And then as the interest in it grew, we changed the format and started to add a little bit of colour to it, which was still done in somebody's garage in Charlesmore. Obviously, Finham Library was our first port of call, where they actually helped us get the magazine known to local residents. These days we go to all libraries in Coventry, and then we go to community centres, and then we go to lots of shopping areas where it might be newsagents, pharmacies or many other businesses that hand them out for us. I think in the last couple of years it's helped people who are quite isolated and lonely, and they look forward to having something to read. It's also a sort of read where you can pick it up and put it down and then pick it back up again. I suppose the moral of the story is, if you set your heart on trying to do something, you can actually achieve it. Might not make you rich or famous, but it certainly gives you a sense of being a good role in the community, and also you feel like you're doing something worthwhile.
Golf was introduced to Coventry in 1887, following a visit to Royal Blackheath Golf Club London by local Coventry business and sportsman Harold Smith. On his return, he contacted various friends and acquaintances, and the inaugural meeting was held at Draper's Hall on the 18th of April 1887. Those present decided to form a golf club, make a course, and become a committee to promote their objectives. Additionally, Coventry's Ladies Golf Club would be incorporated in 1892 and is one of the oldest ladies' clubs in the United Kingdom. At the time, golf had not yet been played in America, and there were only a few courses in England. Play would begin at Pinley, where a few rough holes were cut in the fields. However, Coventry Corporation believed that golf on the common was dangerous to the general public and ordered players to wear red coats to distinguish them from others using the land. There was also objections from the freemen of the city, who considered the holes hazardous to cattle. This was resolved by fitting the holes with wooden blocks when not in use. Because of difficulties encountered on Whitley Common, the club searched the neighbourhood for private land that would be satisfactory for a golf course. Baggington and Finham appeared to be most suitable, and Finham Park in particular was favoured. Negotiations were entered into with the owner of land in that locality, Mr. Bromley Davenport, who agreed to lease part of his estate to the club. The new course and clubhouse was formally opened on Thursday the 9th of May 1912, when an exhibition match was arranged to celebrate the occasion between the leading players of the day, Open champions Harry Varden and James Braid, against two local professionals. With the opening of this fine parkland golf course and clubhouse, Coventry was now firmly established on the golfing map. Working closely with the Warwickshire Wildlife Trust, the club has further developed its semi-natural woodland, grassland and wetlands to provide a safe and diverse habitat for a wide-ranging variety of birds, mammals, amphibians and pollinating insects.
I'm Lisa Goodser. I live in Styvechale. In response to the breakout of the COVID pandemic back in March 2020, I was involved in setting up the Styvechale and Finham Empower community group, which is to support our neighbours during this time of uncertainty.
And I'm Jane, and I've lived in Styvechale for about 12 years now, and it's a fantastic place to live. It's not only the area with the Memorial Park and the beautiful woodland walks around here, but also the community, the people that live here. So when Lisa and I set up this SAFE group over a year ago, the response from the local community was amazing.
And I think the reason we did get it up and running so quickly was the response from the neighbourhood. We were supporting people in ensuring that they had their prescriptions, ensuring that they had grocery shopping. We had a telephone support service, and it was great because they just knew that somebody was there for them. We also supported a local gentleman. It was his 90th birthday, so the community were walking past his house. He sat in his front garden and he met so many members of the community.
There was some worry around the time. There was a lot of scaremongering on social media about scammers going around knocking on doors. So we were very careful that we had that endorsement from the church and from the councillors and from various different places, so that more vulnerable people would be reassured that we were a reliable, trustworthy, sort of with robust sort of procedures in place, and that there was nothing to be scared of, because we thought the last thing we want to do is add to people's worry. Because we've linked up lots of people, these relationships have continued. So we're not getting so many calls now for help. So I was speaking to a friend the other night, and she said, "Oh, should I start getting Frank shopping for him?" And he said, "He's such a lovely chap, and he's telling me about his family in Australia. And he showed me these drawings he did, and he's the most fantastic artist." And they still speak once a week, even though he doesn't really need anything from her. they still speak and they're still in touch, which is lovely.
West Orchard Congregational Church was originally built in the centre of the city in 1777. 60 years later, it was rebuilt as a much larger building. This stood until 1940, when it was bombed in the November Blitz. And eventually, a new brick West Orchard Church was built on the corner of the Cheezels and Bangington Road. One of the stained glass windows depicts the old city centre church. Coventry's early prosperity was because of a trade in wool and cloth. Alongside the wool trade, there grew up a number of subsidiary trades like glove making, hat and cap making, and thread and felt making. The earliest mention of glass painting is in the year 1302, with William the Glasswright of Coventry. Later, there are many references to Coventry glaziers, of whom John Thornton was the best known. In 1405, he designed and made the largest east window of York Minster. Leather trades were also important to the prosperity of Coventry in former days. This window illustrates an interesting and very specialised element of the leather trade, bookbinding. Ribbon weaving became Coventry's main industry from the early 1700s to the 1860s. The peak of Coventry ribbon weaving was 1857, when 25,000 people were employed in it. In the Middle Ages, patterned tiles were manufactured on quite a big scale in Coventry. In the background of this illustration is the sort of kiln in which the tiles were dried and baked. The cycle trade had its beginnings in the decline of the watch and ribbon trades in the 1860s. Redundant workers from those industries were employed by James Starley to manufacture sewing machines. In 1868, they turned to bicycles. Around 1900, 300,000 cycles would have been produced in a year. And right up to the outbreak of the First World War in 1914, Coventry was the centre of the world's cycle industry. Many of the cycle firms turned to making motor cars, for example, Swift, Humber, Rover and Singer. The Triumph Motorcycle Company in Coventry later became the best known motorcycle manufacturer in the world.
Hi, my name's Mick Fitzpatrick. I'm a committee member of the Styvechale Grange Residents Association. I'm the treasurer and I'm also the web editor.
Hi there, my name's John Archer and I chair the Styvechale Grange Residents Association. We've been active for over 10 years now, but over the last 2 years we've taken to adopting this pound which you see behind me.
It's been a place of refuge for animals within the area of Styvechale Common, where the landowners would allow animals to roam free, but in the evening it was the job of the pinner who lived in the cottage just below us, who would look after those animals. He would collect all the animals and bring them into the animal pound. He would store them overnight and would not allow the owner to take the animals away until they've paid an amount of money. In recent times, the animal pound has really become overgrown, and in 1976, Mr. Stanton, who lived in the Pinner cottage, along with a number of other friends, actually cleared it for the first time in over 200 or 300 years. Unfortunately, after that period of time, we finished up with an overgrowth of weeds again that continued growing. However, in 2019, we were approached from initially Friends of the Memorial Park, who had two wardens who were requested to get involved with clearing the area. And ourselves, me, John, Sheila Weir and a number of residents off the estate came along here and cleared the area. And we still have the lady who lives in the Pinner named Mrs. Stanmore, and she comes up here quite regularly at the age of over 90 to help us in maintaining this animal pound.
Any job that you can feel you can help us with, even as simple as litter picking, would help maintain the environment and would encourage people to take an interest in it. They're just growing now, there's a mixture of hazel, blackthorn, dogwood, different roses. So it will become a natural habitat for animals, for birds. So I had a group of about 90 people, 90 children, which were split into 3, and we took them from the pound along to the cottage, along to the blacksmith's place, and then into the meadow, and we had them jumping in what was an imaginary pond which would be used for sheep dipping. You could not imagine how happy these kids were.
And while we haven't got a lord of the manor, unless one of you is a lord of the manor, we've instead got magnificent volunteers who maintain such important and precious parts of Coventry. So thank you very much, and thank you for asking me to carry out this ceremony.
So I started a project about my family history, really, and it started really when I got a DNA test given me for my 70th birthday, and that revealed some things that were a bit surprising, so I thought I'd look into it a bit more. So I looked into the connections with Burma. My dad was born in Rangoon. My mum's family ended up in Rangoon as well, and their families were living next door to each other when the Japanese bombed Burma on Christmas Day in 1941, and then everything was chaos. They were refugees, they had to leave everything behind. My mum had to go and help. She was only 16 and she had to go and help in the hospital nursing, because her aunt was a doctor. And my dad had to go back and rejoin the army. He'd been home on Christmas Day on leave. Anyway, eventually they ended up coming to England. This was nice because they came to London all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and spending all my dad's demob money and everything, and find out they have no money left. By the time I was a teenager, we were living in Finham. One of the things I remember about living in Finham was sharing a room with my sister. We used to argue so much because there was a spare room, but it was the box room. So rather than one person having the box room and the other one having the double room, we ended up sharing a room, and we used to sing a lot in bed at night, and my mum and dad would be banging on the ceiling. We also used to be pretending to do our homework and be actually reading magazines or something under the covers. Coventry Council arranged school exchanges. We were twinned with Kiel in Germany, so I went on a school exchange to Kiel, and another one to France, and languages was something I was quite good at school, and I went on to the Lanchester Poly, and Dad had a great garden. We always used to tease him and say that he must have gone around with nail scissors clipping the lawn. We used to go out as teenagers to the old mill at Baggington with our friends, and we went dancing at the Baggington Oak. I remember getting the last bus home, and frantically we had to wipe our makeup off before we got home because Mum and Dad didn't approve of us wearing eye makeup. And I remember walking home in the snow and all that sort of thing.
Hello, I'm Rod Drew. I'm a past president of the Chamber of Commerce. I now sort of attend Woodside Methodist Church for the last 5 years, having been a member of the Central Hall in town for 37 years. Now I've lived in Coventry for 44 years. My wife and I have been happier in Coventry than in any other place we've been. We've been married now for over 61 years and have 4 children. The bylaw came about because I was manager and a pharmacist of Boots in Corporation Street, and for about 3 out of 4 Christmases, just as we were packing the children's stockings, the phone would ring and the police would ring and say, Rod, you've had another break-in. And we were having a lot of trouble in the city centre, especially on Saturday afternoons with youth, being on the balconies in the city centre, drinking from cans of beer, and quite often at times spitting down over the balconies onto ordinary people shopping in the city centre. So I got a team of people together. We talked to the government about introducing a bylaw which would ban drinking in public places. And we were the first city, we pioneered it. Now we had all sorts of things with it. We even introduced things like female-only taxi services, get home with a lady driver. And we looked at training of staff in the pubs and in the nightclubs. And we had to look intently at the city centre.
Hi everyone, my name is Zara Sultana and I am the Member of Parliament for Coventry South. I'm really proud to represent Finham and Styvechale. This community is rooted in history and is rich in community spirit, and I've seen that from the conversations I've had with local groups and constituents and just being able to visit the local area. My background is in community organising, so I really value talking and learning from people and understanding what issues concern them. And one of the key issues I've come across is the Kings Hill development and the concerns the local community has about that, and their need to prioritise the environment and protecting natural habitats, as well as investing in healthcare and good jobs. So I've been working really closely with groups, making sure that the Minister is listening to concerns and prioritising the community over big developers. And as we emerge out of this pandemic, it's really important that we do prioritise the environment, that we are aware that we need to address the climate emergency, as well as create millions of good quality jobs that are well paid and unionised, as well as investing in our public services, especially the NHS. And it's really important for me as an MP to make sure that Coventry, Finham, Styvechale and all areas of our country are invested in, and that we emerge out of this pandemic with a fairer, more equitable society.
Constance Ruby Fairbrother was born in Coventry as a war baby on January the 25th, 1918. She was descended from a line of Flemish weavers who had brought their skills to the city and who helped create the weaving industry for which Coventry was so well known. She grew up in Stoke Heath and attended the famous South Street School in Hillfields. There she sat next to Kitty Whittle, sister of Frank, who invented the jet engine in the city. Her connection to the War Memorial Park was strong from an early age. To help fundraise to build the War Memorial, local school children collected pennies to build a mile of pennies. Connie and school children from all over the city were invited to attend the opening ceremony of the memorial once it was built. Connie was a natural scholar who excelled in everything that she did. However, she was not allowed to fulfil her grammar school dream and instead was sent to work at the Auto Engineering Limited factory at aged 14. There she became a welder for Captain Armstrong. She was so good at her job that she was called into the office and told to slow down because she was costing too much money in piecework. As a teenager, she would attend celebrations held in the park, along with the Coventry Carnival and Donkey Derby. During the Blitz, she recalled looking out of the air raid shelter and feeling the hot air and blood-red skies as the city burned. A few days later, after the Blitz, Connie was picking her way through the ruined Broadgate and saw King George walking amongst the debris. He was crying in dismay and shock at the destruction. Connie married Eli Fairbrother and went on to have 3 children, Jill, Colin and Keith, whom she adored. Sons Colin and Keith became excellent rugby players, representing school and county. Keith went on to play for Coventry and then as an international for England. After retirement, Connie volunteered for 25 years in the cancer unit at Walsgrave Hospital, earning her long service badge there. She would even sell her runner bean seeds, 10 for a penny, and donate the funds. Connie was the best grandma, taking us on adventures all over the city in her Mini, to the Japanese gardens in the Memorial Park, to the Canley Ford Milk Bar for wonderful milkshakes. The night that Coventry City won the FA Cup, we all wore sky blue and she drove us around the city centre. Connie lived independently in Styvechale near the park for 50 years until she was 101 years old. Connie always found the best in things and was such a positive, strong and resilient person who found most things could be solved with tea and chat. We're so happy to have a memorial bench installed for her next to the cenotaph that she helped to build. We already spend time sitting with her and having a chat in this beautiful and special park.